I saw on every social media, every website that people in Paris are rude, or maybe Parisians are rude.
That stereotype is 50% true, 50% not true.
And I would only argue that French people are rude to everybody. Yeah, because I'd say the big difference here is that
Oh no, definitely not. But I can see why.
They are rude, I'm not gonna lie. I had plenty of encounters where people
A lot of stereotypes are really Parisian stereotypes.
It's very nuanced.
There's this saying where Americans are like peaches.
No, I think this is completely unfair and not realistic.
I didn't think they are rude, but I saw they're arrogant.
One of the reasons I guess people can feel like Parisian people are rude is that I don't think that's not something I would say. Maybe it just like, even if I say like Paris is not like a stressful city, people are kind of like in a rush all the time. So maybe they are rude to foreigners when they walk slowly or when they're struggling in the metro, for example. But I wouldn't say they are rude. One of the reasons I guess people can feel like Parisian people are rude is that when a stranger is talking, like a non-French speaking person is talking French to us and trying to like interact in French, we easily shift to English, even though like the person wants to speak French to improve, you know. We're like, no, let's speak English, you know. Maybe that's the thing.
What do you say about the stereotype that you always see on the internet that French people are rude?
When they have to interact with you, they're kind of like overly nice. But then sometimes in the end, you can feel it when they don't actually like you. Like they're rude. They're kind of doing it like, you know, low key. But you can see it from their faces. You can see it from the way they speak to you. If you don't manage to properly talk in French with them, sometimes they're going to get pissed. They're not going to appreciate the effort. They're not going to do the effort of speaking French with you. So that's it. For the rest, yes, you can find a few like rude waiters, but for the rest, people are nice, like generally nice and polite.
people say that French people are rude to them. And I would only argue that French people are rude to everybody. Yeah, because I'd say the big difference here is that one of the big things I think that differentiates it between its service industry, for example, the work laws in France are very strict. They're very much rooted in post-war Europe, and people are pretty comfortable in their job. They're not going to get fired for anything. They can pretty much relax. So a lot of people go to work, and they're very expressive, and they bring their personalities with them. Whereas in America, people keep it a little bit tight. They tend to be a bit more, it's not personal, it's professional. Let's be professional. Whereas in France, everything is kind of personal. But let's say people in France are much more open about how they feel. They're much more all about the venting. I think it's a Latin thing as well. I mean, if you live in Spain, you know that they're not quiet in Spain about what they think. But I think the French as well, they have a very revolutionary spirit as part of their history, part of their culture. And I'd say, that's opinionated is what I'd say, and not afraid to share.
Okay, so that stereotype is 50% true, 50% not true. Mostly people have been nice to me, even if they know I don't speak French. But for that also, I had a hack. But 50% time, people are rude. And mostly the people who are rude are the vendors, the street vendors or the shop vendors. They are the people who are mostly very rude. I think they are very anti towards people who are not French. I experienced the same thing with one of my friends. He's from Pakistan, but he's born and brought up here in Paris. He speaks very fluent French. He is French. But because he looks like this, those people were very, very rude. But as soon as he started speaking French, they were friends. And I was the outsider then. And they have this weird sounds going on every time. I don't understand what, bro. Speak words.
I don't see it too much, For me, it's not. Maybe I'm in a different world, but for me, yes, they are very nice.
A lot of stereotypes are really Parisian stereotypes, but not really applied to all the France. So yes, the hautain parisien, le parisien, the Parisian little bit arrogant, little bit too much confident of herself. Yes, confident of herself. But I think it's stereotype, and you can find people like that, but it's not the majority, and it's more in Paris than in Lyon or Toulouse or other city in France.
No, I think this is completely unfair and not realistic at all. And I was like really thinking, actually I had this in my mind like the last months, and thinking, but why still is this, because when I go in restaurants or stuff like this, people are really, really kind, and sometimes in Romania it's not like this. They just bring the thing in my face, and if they have a bad day, I can see it from 100 kilometers. But here they are really, they know how to, maybe because they love their language that much, everyone knows it, and they prefer if you speak in French. So then, but it's not like it's just hard for them to make an effort to speak English, So maybe strangers or like foreigners consider they're rude because they don't really make an effort to adapt. But actually they do, I have a little trick. I will confess it. First, I speak in French a little bit. And so they see my struggle, and then they will come to speak English with me. And it's just very easy.
French people are rude. That's a stereotype that you hear all over social media. What do you think about that?
I've never met a rude Parisian or French person, to be honest. I think if you're nice, people will be nice too. I mean, I don't know. I think the recipe is just smile and be nice. And if you can try to speak French, it's always a good thing. I always try to speak even if it's a poor French, and nobody was ever rude to me. I come from Croatia, so we are very direct and straightforward people. So for me, everybody here is super nice, because in Croatia, they will tell you like, hey, go to hell. They will be really honest about how they feel. And here, I think people are even a little bit more polite. So I don't know.
Yeah, culture-wise, it's obviously there's a language barrier. My language is atrocious. I do get by. It's all about context. But that makes things a little bit difficult. But honestly, the stereotypical rude French person, I haven't really met them. One or two people, but most people are lovely, friendly. Yeah, it's nice. I've been to a rugby game, Australia versus France, and it was a tremendous atmosphere. The French were lovely. I was in amongst thousands of French supporters, and I felt very welcome.
You know what? I wouldn't say they are rude. I think because some of them are stressed, as I told you before, I see this hectic. I see the rush, the morning rush. I see evening rush, transport, bus, metro. Many people going to work. They take metro. Metro is packed. You are like sardines in the can. And I've seen that. I was surprised. I didn't expect that. But you can't be super happy and super relaxed. So I don't think they are rude. I think they are maybe not super happy with their lifestyle. And sometimes it might seem to outsiders as rudeness. But I think it's just expression of, when you're not completely happy with your life. I visited Paris a few times before moving here, and I had impression they are arrogant. I didn't think they are rude, but I saw they're arrogant. I didn't speak any French at that time, though. I was addressing people in English, and I had impressions they didn't want to answer. Now, when I speak French, almost perfect, I don't have that impression at all. I don't know if it's a matter of addressing them in French and they respect you straight away for that. And I don't feel any arrogance. Actually, I find them pretty humble. I find them very nice, very friendly. They're even interested to know what do you think about Parisians and about Paris.
They are rude, I'm not gonna lie. I had plenty of encounters where people, especially customer service, really bad. I think they seem like they're annoyed when you go and ask them a question. They seem like they're so annoyed that you're asking them a question. And it's like, I have the impression that they're robots. They have only one task. They've been trained to do one task only. And if you have a special case, they don't know how to help you out. They're like, I heard that je sais pas. I hear that all that je sais pas. It's like, I think it's just the way they are. Also, French people, they're not everybody, but work isn't a big deal. That's the stereotype that work isn't a big, it's not or as Americans, we live to work. Here, not so much the case. So I think that plays a role. Once 17 o'clock hits, they're out. And I mean, you go to a grocery store here, if it says at 8 o'clock, it's closed at 8 o'clock. And if you're not there by 7:50, they're not gonna let you in, because by 8 o'clock, they want to leave. So it's just those differences in culture. I think it depends. Parisian people could be nice, or they could be also rude. But I think because it's a big city, so sometimes you are just walking and people just push you because you are slow. So they're just move. And I'm just okay, cool down. And I think that the reason why they can be rude, but it's not because they are rude because they want to be rude, but it's just because here we live in a constantly pressure of time.
and people are so busy all the time. So we're all around, running around. And I think that sometimes I used to be like that also. So I'm just like, these people are so slow, so please move for that. No. But I think this is the reason why.
I don't consider the French people rude. So it's very rare that you see like a waiter or waitress being rude to you, but they're just doing their job. And yeah, I have many situations where I feel like they were very friendly, or maybe not around so much. But I can't think of a situation where I'd say, oh yeah, that waiter was really rude, and that's typically French. So no, not in my opinion.
Like any stereotype, there's some truth and not truth with it. I've been here for over a year, and I can tell you I haven't personally had bad, rude, discriminatory experiences, which is great. But maybe there is people who have had that, and I think with that, bottom line is with the French, they are a bit shy to speak English for some of them. So if you come off as like a big like English person and just expect everyone to speak English fluently, then it can come to a detriment to you because you're a French-speaking country and English isn't one of their national languages, and some don't take it seriously during school. So if you even maybe know how to say a couple words like bonjour or merci, then it goes a long way for the French, and they will be a bit more open and less rude to you.
Where I was living in Paris in my first year was the 10th arrondissement, right by Canal Saint-Martin, which is a little bit more of like a younger, more hipster type of neighborhood. And it's a little bit grungy as well. And I just found people were much nicer. And I would try to speak French, and I would find that people were actually quite nice to me. As a whole, people would ask me where I was from in that area. But right now, like I'm in the 16th, and when I'm walking around the 16th and I try to order a coffee, sometimes, again, I speak fluent French. They'll notice my accent is off, and they'll just immediately switch. So my point being, I think it depends on the person, the generation. But if you're around usually younger or at least more well-traveled people, you're going to have a better experience. They tend to be nicer and more open. Whereas I don't think it's fair to say that everybody's rude. But I have had some instances that were a little bit rude. But I would say as a whole, French people are not rude. I would say, okay, as a whole, Parisians can be rude. That's a good nuance.
Well, I think it depends. I still very much like stay around with like expats, which sucks. I do have like some French friends here and there. Very, very nice, very lovely. People from Bordeaux, very lovely. I find that they're always nice. Like maybe people from elsewhere, It's hard to find like true Parisians, but I feel like, there's this saying where Americans are like peaches, where they're kind of soft on the outside, but very hard on the inside, which is very true. They'll be like, hey, like, let's hang out. Never to be heard from again, as where like French people, I don't know, maybe they're avocados. They're like exteriors are quite tough, but once you get into the soft part, like they're nice.
So here I'd like to break a myth. Ever since I came, I saw on every social media, every website that people in Paris are rude, or maybe Parisians are rude. I personally feel that it's totally opposite, or maybe it's not correct. I've been to different parts of France, be it for tour or maybe work trips, etc. I feel people here, or maybe let's say Parisians, they're more open. Even if I speak in broken French, they would understand because they have come across similar situation in the past. And the fact that they work with a lot of international colleagues made them open to communicate with whoever or maybe whichever background they come from. That's first part. And second, everyone is in rush. For example, right now here, we are not in center of Paris, so people are peaceful. But the moment you go towards the main stations, everyone is going to work or everyone has a meeting to attend to. So they're always into rush, going here and there. So that is super fast paced. So that might come across wrong. But I personally feel people here are super supportive on any given day. If I go on random road and if I need some help or maybe let's say be it with directions or any information at all, I only heard positive things.
Oh, no, definitely not. No. But I can see why. I mean, it's like, that's the contradiction of my answer. Like, I can see clear as day why, that stereotype exists.
Why do you think that is?
The French love their culture and they love their language and they protect it. I'll give you an example. There is something called the Académie Française. There are laws about the language, what you can use, how you spell this word. And that is something that I've definitely never heard of before. In the United States, we make up words all the time and they get entered into Webster's dictionary, and that does not happen here. So they're very, very protective. And so that is a standoffishness.
With the immigrant experience, they want you to learn the language, but it doesn't often feel like they want you. It feels like it's imposed. And you also have, fashion and the way that you're supposed to cook food. And yeah, that on the face, like I can absolutely see that. And then if you're comparing, North America to France and the explicit nature and the implicit nature of things, yeah, that kind of messes with your mind. And you would, maybe qualify that as being rude. But how I feel in my personal experience is, no, I mean, like any big city, you're gonna land on the asshole, and it's a question of how you maneuver it and just kind of turn it into a game and learn the language. If you're traveling here, the basics, like you absolutely must say bonjour before doing or asking anything. If you're asking for directions, you absolutely have to say bonjour first. And so that could be one of the biggest causes of the stereotype is you have like the American traveling or, any other country and they ask a question. And if you don't say bonjour, they're going to even pretend that you don't exist. It could also be true that they don't speak English and that there's a lot of shyness. I don't know if that's the right word. Feeling shy, yes, absolutely. And then your presence makes them feel insecure. And it has nothing against you, and it's nothing personal, but their insecurity is coming out. And that could feel like somebody being rude or somebody being standoffish.
Thanks a lot for watching this video. And if you found it informative, please consider a like, subscribe, or share. And let us know in the comments what you think about that topic. Soon you will see many other videos about life in Paris and other European cities on this channel. And I hope to see you in the next video.